to Vanessa, and you've got an interesting caption here because we're back on drugs and medication, but it's also linked in with the US. Bit of noise in the background. Welcome.
Yes, can't avoid that here, I'm afraid. So I wanted just to highlight this on the back of the report that we did on Friday on the BBC Captagon documentary, where effectively they're trying to present the image of Syria as a narco state headed up by President Assad, who's basically running these narco rings inside Syria with his family. And so I think this was, sorry, Brian, just go back 1 second. So the US on the 7th of July, I think it was, stated that they're forming a global coalition against synthetic drugs, including Captagon, and they've invited 91 geographically, economically, and politically diverse countries and 14 international organizations to the July 7 ministerial, a State Department official told. This is actually Kurdistan 24. It's a Kurdish separatist media outlet. And then I just wanted to update on the report that we did on Friday because, UK Column and myself are not letting up the pressure on the BBC. Mike pointed out to me that actually the BBC in the UK have withdrawn the programme from their iPlayer website following our report. We still haven't had a response from any of the characters at the BBC that we contacted for comment. But we did have a reply from OCCRP, Organised Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, with funding from the UK Foreign Office, the French government, the German government, the Dutch postcode lottery, US Aid, NED, etc., etc., etc. So heavily invested in by the countries that are pushing for regime change in Syria. And this was their response, which was quite interesting. One, that we got a response, and two, this is what they said. So they basically tried to distance themselves to some extent from the BBC. They said eventually we can't speak for a BBC story. And yet it was made quite clear that the documentary was made in partnership with OCCRP. They then admitted that they received grant money from the FSDO for the development of international media, mostly in emerging democracies. Does this sound at all like BBC Media Action, Brian? They claim, yes, exactly. The FCO, they claim, and I think this is a statement taken directly from the FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act website. So they're trying to distance themselves also from the fact that they have not declared the funding they've received from foreign governments by claiming that the UK Foreign Office has no editorial control or responsibility for their content. They don't represent the UK government. They do not engage in political activities. Well, hang on a minute. You took a grant from the UK Foreign Office for the development of international media in emerging democracies. That immediately seems like a contradiction to me. They don't do public relations for others, and they do not take any editorial or programmatic direction. This also sounds very familiar to some of the statements put out by the likes of Channel 4 and the BBC when they are put under pressure. They claim that the editor-in-chief is solely responsible for all editorial decisions, and that they are an award-winning investigative organization that reports globally on issues of organized crime and corruption. Well, I wonder if they've reported on the Hunter Biden corruption and crime and the find of drugs in the White House. And they claim to empower a global network of independent media to do so as well. I would also question what they mean by independent media. And we have compiled a list of questions to send back to them. Of course, they have at least responded, which is more than can be said for the BBC that have gone to ground. We should also be sending this to Mariana Spring to verify, I think.
Vanessa, thank you. Well, yeah, it's normal BBC, isn't it? And of course, they don't come out and give a full apology. Material's just going to disappear off and everybody's going to try and walk away from it. But I think excellent work by you. And I'm going to say we're delighted to have helped put that one out, plus Mike's email to the BBC. So we'll see how it develops from there. But I was amused to see, basically, we're going to clear out all of those horrible illegal drugs in the world in order that we can get our cash cow pharmaceutical products everywhere. But maybe I'm just being cynical.